Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. In the world of parent-adult-child estrangement, there is a polarizing force in virtually any discussion you find online, and that polarizing force is pain. There's a perception that compassion for parents equals a disregard for the pain experienced by estranged adult children. And on the other hand, any talk of the pain that leads to estrangement from parents is viewed with suspicion on the parents' side. If we have compassion for estranged adult children, does that mean that their rejected parents deserve none? The reality is, neither pain nor compassion should be a zero-sum commodity. Just because there's a lot of pain on one side doesn't mean there's less pain on the other. Having compassion for this person doesn't mean there's none left over for that person. Pain is universal, and thus so is the need for compassion and kindness and support for healing. In working with parents unwillingly estranged from adult children, I encounter what I sometimes think of as 3 different layers of pain. And I want to share these with you today in the hope that you may recognize them, know that you're not alone, and get some clarity into your own experience, because clarity is necessary for emotional healing, and emotional healing is usually necessary before reconciliation with adult children will stick. The first layer of pain that I notice in parents that's quite close to the surface is when you just miss your child as a person. You miss her company. Not all parents necessarily feel this way. Some are relieved not to have to manage conflict with their child at this point, and that's understandable if it's been a rough ride for a while. But if you used to be very close, your child's absence has left a hole in your days. That hurts, but in itself, it's a clean sort of pain. You simply miss your child. You miss the social connection you had to her or him, and you're grieving the loss of that companionship. And that's not nothing, but I think of it as being somewhat closer to the surface than the other 2 layers. It's more obvious the way it shows up in your life. The second layer of pain is a little more complicated, and it's when you feel your child's pain and possibly identify with it. You feel compassion for your child who doesn't seem happy, and you may experience remorse about that, although you might not be sure of what you could have done differently or how you could help. Although this deeper layer of pain is more visceral in some ways, it's also potentially a clean pain. It's love mixed with sadness and possibly regret. Meaning, if you can sit with those emotions and experience them, you can cry for your child and for yourself, and you can move through that grief and heal. A third and even deeper layer is the hardest to uncover and sit with. It comes from needing your child to come back in order to prove that you're worthy or acceptable or a decent parent, or to undo rejections from the past. Because this type of pain originates so close to the core, it can be hard to see, hard to wrangle, and it can run roughshod over you, creating compulsive behaviors and tremendous suffering, in addition to other layers of just pure pain. As the Dalai Lama is quoted as saying, "Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional." And that's why I consider this third layer to be more of a messy kind of pain. Clean pain can be felt and processed and healed. Messy pain tends to cling to us and add itself to new insults in our lives. It's really hard to wrestle with. It always creates suffering. And the best place to gently coax it into the light so that you can work with it and through it is with a compassionate, competent therapist. This deep layer of messy pain has surprisingly little to do with your child and everything to do with how you secretly regard yourself. In so many of the hurting parents who consult with me, I find unacknowledged and unhealed trauma, injured self-esteem, and a deep emptiness that predates the birth of their children. The relationship they have with themselves is damaged, and that needs healing before they can take on the troubled relationship with their child and give that the attention that it needs. If this resonates with you, this idea of messy pain, it doesn't mean that there's something terribly wrong with you, and it doesn't mean you can't heal, even if you think you're too old for healing. You deserve to heal. Regardless of what your adult child or children do from here on out, you deserve to heal. If pain is your constant companion during this estrangement, consider the possibility that your child's return will not solve the deep problem. It might put a Band-Aid on the emotional wounds that have surfaced, but your child's presence in your life won't heal those wounds. Most of the time, healing the connection with ourselves comes before we can successfully connect with others. So keep your eye on the real prize. It's not your child. Your child might be a wonderful side benefit, but the real prize is your own emotional healing and well-being. A chance to be your whole self, the person you're meant to be. You absolutely deserve this, and if you're not sure how to get there, try meeting with a few therapists. For parents in your position, I like trauma specialists, grief counselors, and psychodynamic therapists who are interested in family of origin issues. Any therapy that doesn't eventually put you in direct touch with your pain and safely allow you room to experience it probably won't be as effective as you'd like. As in the gym, so in the therapy room. No pain, no gain. I'll put links to some therapist directories in the show notes where you can look for someone in your area. And remember that therapy isn't something that's done to you. It's something that you do for yourself. Now, there are many different flavors and layers of pain involved in estrangement, but I talked about 3 of them today. The first was simply missing your child as a human being. And unfortunately, there's no fix for that as long as they're not around. But you can safely feel any sense of loss or longing and speak only kind words to yourself as you feel those things. Hopefully, there will come a time when you won't have to miss your child, but until then, just miss them and find out what might be on the other side of that missing. The second layer of pain was empathizing with your child's pain. You can tell he's suffering, and as the saying goes, you're only as happy as your unhappiest child. Again, there's no fix for this, except to experience what you're feeling and name the emotions if you can. Sympathy, grief, regret, whatever is there. Just labeling your feelings can help you move through them and keep them from dominating you or weighing you down. The third and final layer I talked about is the messy layer of needing your child to stop rejecting you for reasons that have nothing to do with her or him. Their estrangement has triggered old feelings and insecurities deep inside that may not have seen the light of day for decades. When you feel compelled to act in spite of your better judgment, that's a signpost to this messy layer that needs your gentle and curious attention. Therapy can help. Once you have a therapist, why not share this episode with them to help them understand what you'd like to work on? You don't have to do this alone. Until next time, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.